I set out to make a family film overall, and they were listed as a sports drama, and I said no, it's not anything to do with sports. It's to do with a family trying to come together, a little boy trying to find the love of his father, but it has sports in it. So I was just saying to the previous person I talked to, I said, this is a movie for everybody. Like, if you love sports, you'll love the movie. If you hate sports, you'll love the movie. If you have a family, you'll love it. If you have no family, you'll love it. And if you're a person of faith, you'll love it. If you're not, you'll love it just as well.
Hmm.
You know.
Well, and for you, this is such a passion project. I mean, this took 17 years to
Yeah.
make. So, Jeff, I want to hear about this journey of bringing this story to the big screen.
So the simplest explanation of this was, it all started with my crazy brother, sat in a hotel lobby next to Rickey Hill, not knowing him from anything. My brother was meeting a business associate, and Rickey was interviewing directors for his movie way back in 2006. And my brother was sitting next to him and overheard his conversation about how frustrated he was trying to find a director. He had met a bunch of people in Hollywood that he didn't really feel were the right fit.
Mhm.
And my brother leaned over after the call was over and he said, "Sir, sorry for disturbing you and listening to your phone call and eavesdropping, but I have the perfect director, my brother." And Rickey just stared at him and thought, "This is another wacko in LA." And came to find out very quickly that my brother's the opposite. He's like a Boy Scout. He's just an amazing sweetheart. And convinced Rickey to call me on his phone right then and there. And Rickey called me and we bonded like on him. We just immediately, the first time I heard his voice, I just really loved him, and we just had a connection. And then he sent me the script that night and he said, "You got to meet me tomorrow." And I usually I was in the middle of something else and it was also late at night. I mean, they called me about 8 o'clock at night. So I read that script that night. And from the moment I started that story to the end, I cried about 6 or 7 times, and it just ended up inside my body and heart and soul. I couldn't get it out, and it was an obsession. I was just obsessed with getting this movie made, and I was teaching acting in between, but I took it to many people in the financial world, and people were like, "Well, baseball's hard, and these movies are hard because they don't have a foreign appeal and this and that." I said, "But this isn't that kind of movie. This is a movie for every family all over the world that struggles to try to find the love of each other.
Mhm.
And everybody can relate to every character in this movie the way I'm going to tell the story." And so a friend of mine said, "Well, I read the script, the original. It's a great story, but it needs to be a bigger movie. It needs to be a big feature film. Right now, it reads a little like a Hallmark story because it was written by somebody who just didn't understand that we needed a big sweeping kind of epic feel to it." So he said to me, "Who do you want to write the script?" And I said, "Well, I got 10 guys that'd love to write it, but he says, no, no, who is your number one dream person if you had all the money in the world?" I said, "Angelo Pizzo, who wrote Rudy and Hoosiers." And he said, "Well, I happen to know him very well. He's one of my best friends and he owes me a favor." And that's not even made up or exaggerated. That happened. Just everything on this movie is happening every day in such a godly way. It just blows my mind. Every day, I just look up and go, "Thank you." And so Angela read the script, fell in love with it, and said, "Look, I'll do this for a quarter of my rate. I love this story."
Wow.
And he started it, and from then on, I just accumulated the most incredible crew of people. My producer Warren Ostergaard, who was worked tirelessly to make this movie really special. My investor, who after 17 years of not getting people with real money to fund it, people would say, I had it funded 4 times. I was in 3 different states. I was in Utah. I scouted 1,000 miles of Utah. I had all the locations picked out. I had offices, and the money fell through due
Mm.
to people just not being honest. And then the next group of people, I was in Oklahoma. I had locations all picked out. I had an office. The last piece of furniture was coming through the door. This is not made up. A desk was being loaded through the door, and a phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's the investor, and he says, I had to buy some property that came up. It was huge. It's like a mining property, and I have to use the money for the movie right now. So that went out the door with the desk. And then Dennis called me because we had made a pay or play deal to him. And he said, "Jeff, don't worry about paying me. I'm on this movie for life. I love it. So when you get the money, call my agent and find my schedule. And if it works within your schedule, we'll do it. I said, it doesn't matter what my schedule is. Whatever your schedule is, I'll make it work because you're the only person to play Ricky's father.
Hmm.
And that's how the movie ended up getting made. But the last part of this, sorry, it's long. Is the end of this is out of nowhere, a producer called me and said, "Can you help coach this guy? He's an investor in our movie. He's not an actor, but he wants to be in the movie." So I coached this guy. Right afterward, he said, "Do you have anything else?" And I said, "I have a movie I'm doing. You should be involved in it." And the next thing I know, he says, "I can get that movie made and funded in 3 weeks." I said, "I've heard that for 17 years.
Yeah.
Well, 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from Michael Hollingsworth, who's our other amazing guy who helped us get this made. He's our exec producer, and he called a guy named Ron Cundy, who's very wealthy and very entrepreneurial. And he got on the phone with me and he said, "You got 15 minutes. Pitch me your story." So out of nowhere, I pitched it 1,000 times. I said, "Oh my gosh, I have to do it again." And then it just came out of me emotionally again, like I never told the story before. I was crying. He got emotional. He said, "Let me call you back in 20 minutes. He hung up the phone. He called me back. He said, "I was only going to invest $1 million, but I want to fund the whole movie. I want to own this." And I just went like this again. And I said, "Thank you." And boom, we were off and running. And he never got in my way. He never bothered us. He said, "You make the movie you want. This is your story. It's in you." And I realized that this 17 years was nothing. It was all for a higher calling, a much, much bigger reason, that I have these incredible people involved in this movie that got this movie to be what it is today because of they were destined. They were just destined to be part of this movie because of the road I took wasn't the right road originally. The people weren't right on it.
Mm-hmm.
And God was watching out and saying, "Not going to let you do the movie with these people. Sorry. I'm going to wait for the right group of people. There's a reason why I'm doing this." And I had to have faith, and I did the whole time. Even now, my faith was waning just because I'm terrified. I was terrified of the opening weekend. I just wanted to be a success after all I put into it. And now 100%, I am so faithful that I have no question what this movie's going to do. It's just, from what I've seen, we were just at the Joel Osteen Church, Lakewood Church. The reaction of the audience was otherworldly. That's all I can say. People were crying, laughing, screaming, cheering. People were hugging Rickey at the end, saying, "You've changed my life. My son wants to go play baseball. He's autistic. He saw this movie. He feels like he can do anything." I'm not making this stuff up. I mean, this stuff happened to Rickey and I both. Rickey couldn't even talk after the movie was over. He was so emotional because of the reaction of the crowd. It came into us like energy I can't even describe. And the people were just blown away, and they got every single scripture, every moment that I crafted hit them like exactly when it should have. I can't even, I've never seen anything like it in my whole career.
Wow. Well, Rickey, this is your story. What has it been like emotionally going through this process and seeing your story played out on the big screen?
It's kind of hard to believe that you have a film that's going to be made, or a film that is already made and going out to the public now. Sometimes it's a little scary. You think, what could go wrong, but it's really, at one time, it gave me all the answers to a lot of questions that happened throughout my lifetime of why did God choose me as a vessel for this film. And it gave me the answers for why was I paralyzed on the baseball field later on? Well, why? Because it didn't make sense. And then later on, I got the answer. It's because of this film.
Well, I want to talk about your relationship with your dad. I'm also a pastor's kid, and he had really strong beliefs about what you should do with your life. So share more about this journey and how you guys really came to a place of love and reconciliation, because I think this is the most powerful relationship that you do see in the film.
Well, since you're a pastor's daughter as well. You kind of understand it a little bit more than most people will. They have a lot of demands, and especially me, I would go out and preach my sermons out in the open and outside, and I was just copying my father. And I thought that, at the same time, I'm wearing leg braces and all this, but I'm having the time of my life, just mimicking my dad. But at the same very time, I was also hitting with a stick, rocks, and I was just good at both. And so the conflict came when I started getting older. I got out of the braces, and then next thing you know, I'm hitting a baseball. I'm hitting just towering shots, home runs. And my father wanted me in the ministry. I wanted to be in the ministry, but I also wanted to play baseball at the same time. So we kind of battled it out there a little bit, and came to the conclusion that, I can serve in the ministry while I'm playing ball. You can serve in ministry anywhere. And we came to that conclusion. And then finally, even though he never did see me play, as a young man, never saw me play, he didn't have time. He was always there for me, and like in the bed at night, come check on me to see how I did, want to know how I did. And then I'd always tell him, and then I'd ask him how he did, because he's out visiting for the church every night. So it worked out great as far as conflict with one another. And he came to a lot of it. Well,
You saw him play in the that final game, as you see, but then that is where they came together, because right after that he married Rickey at home plate on the Montreal Expos field, as you see at the end.
What you've achieved in your life is just remarkable. So what role did your faith play in helping you persevere, despite hearing from all sides that you weren't going to succeed, despite having not a ton of support from your family? How did your faith help you persevere?
Everything. I never ever wavered from my faith, period. Never did. Which would be easy to do when you have someone that's, when your father's kind of against doing what you're doing. I still never wavered from my faith at all. As even still today, it's the same. Still today.
What was your verse that you carried with you that was your the thing that kept you going?
Philippians 4:13. I just always believed that basically I could do both, and I did achieve that. I always believed that I should be a professional ball player, and I did that. I'm probably the only professional baseball player that's never said a curse word on the ball field.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
That is, trust me, it is.
And I'm so interested too, were you able to separate what you knew God wanted you to do from what your father was telling you to do? Because that is, your spiritual authority physically here on earth. How were you able to separate those two?
Well, my father he let me decide on my own. But when I told him, I'll do both. You know what? He understood it. He did. He understood it. And actually it wound up in the end that loved every bit of it. And then even afterwards, I kept the spirit going, or God kept the spirit going in me. I never stepped away from it.
Now, Jeff, you've said before that a film like this only comes along once in a lifetime. So can you elaborate on what makes this story so special and unique, especially in the broader landscape of cinema?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think it's a combination of what you saw in the movie and what affected that audience I saw. And I didn't realize until I saw it with that audience. I think it's the fact that made this movie so special is it's a combination of so many things that we all deal with every day. And the second thing was, it felt like a movie that everybody needed to see in a time, back when even 17 years ago, we were, we've always been struggling with our lives. I think back then I knew this was a story that I thought would uplift people. And I read so many scripts, and I'm reading so many today, and none of them compare to this. It's just the combination of faith, sports, the family element. And I've always been attracted to people that are struggling, especially a man. I don't know why. I struggled in my life a lot, but maybe that's something to do with it. But I think it's more of just understanding that person's journey. And it just felt to me like look, there's many different movies like Rudy and Field of Dreams that have a person that's trying to find his dream come true and pursue that, and he's got nothing but roadblocks in the way, and he never quits. Just like Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, he was going to have that baseball game no matter what with those people that came out of the cornfield, and he believed it, and nobody else believed him, and he stayed true to what he believed, and that was a very unique movie. This movie had the same feeling to me in the fact that what Rickey does at the end, which is such a miracle, which I can't give away, the fact that he does this is mind numbing. I mean, I just couldn't believe this guy actually went out and did this. And I think that's all the things that made me want to make this movie. It just was a conglomeration to me, it was a perfect movie. I know there's nothing perfect in the world, but this is as close to perfect as I could get.
Rickey, what encouragement do you want to give to people who may be struggling, but they have dreams, right? They want to play baseball. They want to do these great things. What encouragement do you want to offer them?
I would say, you have to, in sports like I did, I always put the sport always above the pain, because I don't know how many bones I've broken, but I don't know of any of them that I haven't broken. But I always put the sport above the pain and what I had to do to work and sustain and make myself even better, because God gives you the talent. You either have it or you don't. It's just a matter of what you do with it. And you can take that talent and you can work it, just like a biblical scripture says that faith it says faith without works is dead. So you can have all the faith in the world, you can, but if you don't have that work that goes along beside that faith, it's dead. And so I always looked at that scripture too my whole life as a kid, meaning that I had to work to make it happen. And I did every day.
And how are you doing physically today?
Actually, yeah, sure. I've got everything in the world wrong with me. I've broken nearly every bone I got. I've had other things happen since then. I've had major surgeries on my spine where I could walk again, because I did in my 40s, I did collapse again, and it was over, where I was paralyzed just like my grandmother and my great-grandmother. And fortunately, I was born in a time that they were able to fix this problem, or I say fix it, at least put a Band-Aid on it where I could do things. And that's why I have 9 screws, I have 6 cages and a 14-inch rod in my spine that holds me together.
Wow.
And I can do things like normal. Nobody thinks I even have a problem. But little do they know that, it's still there, but it's all wrapped up.
Yeah, he called himself the $6 million man. I said, no, you're the $6.5 million man. $6 million man's already been done.
Yeah.
I
That's right.
love it. Well, guys, now that The Hill is completed and it's ready to be showcased, what is the one message that you want audiences to take away from it after they watch this movie? What do you want them to be thinking, talking about, feeling?
Well, for me, the number one thing I want people to feel is I want every son or daughter that's struggling to communicate with their father feels like they can do it after they watch this movie. And any person that feels like they're struggling to get something accomplished feels, should come out of that movie elated and inspired and say, I can do anything if I just don't give up. And I know that sounds a little cliche, but this movie really sends that home for me. I mean, when I watch the movie, and I've seen it 1,000 times, I've done movies my whole life. I've never had this reaction where I can watch it over and over and over and over and over again. I'm going to watch it 4 more times in theaters in the next 2 weeks, and then I'm going to probably take a rest. But every time I watch it, I cry every time. Nothing like I did in the church recently, in the Lakewood church, but I cry a lot. And then at the end, I feel so uplifted when I walk out of the theater. I just want people to spend 2 hours of their life, if they're going to go to my movie, to walk out and go, man, I wish I paid double for that movie, because that movie really, really inspired me. And I just feel so great right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I've noticed people feel when they come out of the theater, especially in a time today where it's such a crazy world. We need movies like this to kind of take us away into another place. You know.
Yep. What about you, Rickey?
Well, there's a lot I would like for them to take. One of the biggest things of all is to take away the fact that if you're a good ball player, first of all, I'll talk about a ball player first. If you're a good ball player, you got that ability somewhere. If you're already there and you're a good ball player and you can make it better, which is tough to do, you got that ability somewhere. And there ain't but one place it came from. And that's because God gave it to you. Mm-hmm. And then saying that, then you take it to the higher level, because there is a higher level. It's no different than you being maybe just a deacon in the church, or you're a pastor in the church. Which one are you going to be? Which one is God calling you to do? Mm-hmm. Which one is he really wanting you to do? And you set yourself on that level, and whatever level that you want to go to, you take the next level even higher. And that's what I want them to get out of it. Guess what? You don't ever think that you have met your level, because there's always a level above it. There's always somewhere, somehow, some way, there's a better ball player over there that's better than you. But you always tell yourself that you're better than them. So I hope that this comes out of the theater. The people they're not dreaming, they're doing. Because the dreams are just dreams. I like action and happening. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I hope that the people take out of that theater, that they got their calling of what to do, and whatever they're doing, they're taking it to the top of the level that they got offered to do.